Hi, folks. Looks like I am live. Wasn't expecting that. I was expecting my usual entrance. I guess I forgot to play it. Oh, well, that's what happens when you go live. Anyway, my name is Andrew, Popcorn and Whiskey, Friday night edition. I am the face who runs the place. Salute that. Cheers. Here we go. So I guess I better get my other stuff going on here as well, huh? Because make sure I'm actually broadcasting on this bad boy. I do believe I am, so that's good. That's always good to know. Good. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about my new POV videos, which I'm doing around Clinton. It's point of view. POV stands for point of view. The drives that I'm doing around Clinton, and I have big plans for this, and I'll roll them out little by little. See how that works out. So if you haven't followed me yet, please start following me so you can see these videos, and so that also you'll get notified when I do present them, and it's a fun way to ride along with me as I'm going through the streets of my hometown, Clinton, and telling stories as I go along. So right now is at the it's in its infancy right now. So I want you, at least I'm asking you, to please follow me so you can get a good heads up on when it's actually the next one's going to be released. Okay. So that being said, we have a winter storm coming in tomorrow. Sometime supposed to start. I've heard anywhere from a half inch to 12 inches of snow. Depends on where you listen, depends on who you listen to, and depends on, I guess, the channel you listen to, which is going to be a recurring theme tonight as we go along with this. Depending on what channel you listen to get the proper information or the information that you can believe. So, that being said, let me ask you this. Let's say one station tells you it's 2 inches of snow going to be coming. Another station tells you it's 12 inches of snow is going to be coming. Who do you listen to? Which one do you listen to? Oh, yeah, I can hear right now. But Andrew, they don't know what it is. We'll tell you after the fact. We'll tell you after the fact. We'll tell you if it's supposed to be 2 to 12 inches tomorrow. We'll tell you the next day how much we got. That'll be the only way to determine it. Okay, keep that in mind. Again, this is going to be a recurring theme tonight as we go along here. So you're telling me that if one station is telling you this, another station is telling you that, instead of believing one station, you're going to wait until it actually happens, until everything's settled, and then you're going to make a determination of who's right and who's wrong. Is that right? Is that what you're telling me? Okay, that makes sense, and that's what you should do. Again, we're going to discuss this further on, we're going to discuss this more as we go further with this. Okay, so hey, here for the first time, appreciate it. We are triple casting tonight: Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Now, the YouTube one may be going away soon, and here's the reason why. I've decided to put up another channel. Actually, I'm putting up another 2 channels on YouTube. Why? Because I just need more to do. That's all with that stuff. That's all. So I'm putting up 2 more channels on YouTube. So this Popcorn and Whiskey might be going away, or it might morph into another channel. Because here's what I'm finding out. If I follow all the quote unquote rules that people are putting out on how to grow your YouTube, how to grow your Facebook, how to grow your online business, you follow all the rules, it doesn't always work that way. So, and I've challenged people in the past. I said, why don't you start from scratch and put your money where your mouth is? I know of one person who's doing that, and he's actually struggling at this moment to get it going. Now, he had a huge following beforehand, but he did not tell any of his following that's what he was doing. And he told me, because he confided in me. We was talking about other things one day, and I mentioned that to him, and he says, I'm actually doing that. So it was pretty pretty neat to hear him say that. And I'm one of the few behind the scenes that I'm actually following his progress. So that's pretty good. All right. So what my channel is about is me moving my online business, the Top Fitness Strategies business. I'm moving it over to where I have moved it over to Substack. That's where the central hub is right now. So the YouTube channel is going to be about me documenting the things that I'm doing, whether they're working or whether they're not, based on things that people are saying, this works, you should do it this way. From keywords. And I know some of you who don't understand online businesses, I get it. This is boring to you, but stick with it. Stick with me tonight. All right. And talked about keywords, talked about thumbnails, talks about consistency, talked about you have to upload good videos so people can follow you. And I understand that. That's a great logic. But my thing is, how do you know if they're good videos if nobody sees them? Right? So you can have the best video in the world, but if nobody sees it, you don't know if it's any good or not. Or you can have the worst video in the world, but if no one sees it, you don't know if it's bad or not, right? That's the way I see it. By the way, we have yes, I drink online. So what? I break the rules of live streaming. That's what I do. WWE this weekend. Right now, SmackDown is on. Waiting for my girl Charlotte to come out. I don't know if she will or not. I thought she would. And tomorrow night, you're going to have the Saturday night main event coming on. So that's going to be cool. Okay. So all that being said, let's talk about the stuff that's going on in Minneapolis. Wow, 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 wow. Now, I'm going to preface and say this. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on or what side of the spectrum you're on. If you are dumb enough to assault an officer of the law, your ass should be going to jail. It's just that simple. And again, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, or even if you're not on the side of the aisle. If you hurt or attack or do something to a law enforcement officer, whether that's the sheriff, the local police, the county police, the city police, the state police, federal officers, anything of that sort, Secret Service, if you abuse them or if you intend to harm them in any way, shape, or form, FAFO. It is just that simple, folks. Now, I actually talked to an older guy the other day, and this kind of hurt my heart a little bit because of the way some of you guys are acting out there. He was telling me he was afraid to leave his house because he's going to get picked up. Now, he's a white guy. It's an older white guy, 80 plus years old. Now, he could have been saying it in jest, but I don't think he was. I said, why do you think they're going to pick you up? What are you doing something wrong? He says, no, they're just picking up Americans at random. You know, that's the dumbest statement people can say out there. No, they are not. Will you cut it out? Quit saying crap like that. It is not true. Show me an American who has been deported, which makes no sense. There hasn't been. Has there been Americans have been detained? Sure, of course. If you're doing something wrong, hanging out with the wrong folks, and you're going to get picked up, guess what? They'll detain you for a little bit, verify your identity, then let you go. So what? What is so wrong with that? If somebody robs a bank, let me give you this other one. If somebody robs a bank, then I happen to be in the car with them, or in the same bus or taxi or Uber or whatever it is with them, and I match the description of one of the partners or one of the other people that robbed the bank, wouldn't the police or law enforcement or whoever detain me until they can prove who I am or one of those things? Of course. Should I get mad at that? No. Why would I get mad at that? They're doing their job. Okay? For me, blocking that from them doing their job is idiotic on my part. And anybody who's blocking law enforcement from doing their job, you're an idiot. Cut it out. Again, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you are blocking police, blocking law enforcement from doing their job, you're an idiot. Plain and simple. Cut it out. Ugh. All right. That being said, there is this story going around about this 5-year-old in Minneapolis. And again, the recurring theme we talked about before, all right, with the snow and everything else. So the recurring theme we had before. So think about this. Let me reiterate everything. You're in an area where one news station tells you you're going to get 2 inches of snow. Another news station tells you to get 12 inches of snow. Who do you listen to? Well, most people say, well, I'll tell you what, we will wait until the day after it snows and then we'll decide who was right. Okay, great. Makes sense, right? Would you agree with that? Sure. Okay. So then why don't you apply that with other things as well? If one station is telling you X and another station is telling you Y, which one are you going to believe? All right. Why not use the same philosophy that you use with the snow? Why don't we wait until everything settles before we make the decision of who is right and who's wrong? Okay. And I'll give you a great example here. And hopefully I have everything set up. And so here we go. This is on that 5-year-old little boy. Okay. This is what one station was saying about it.
5-year-old. You can't tell me that this child is going to be classified as a violent criminal.
School officials in Minneapolis say 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos was detained with his father by federal agents when he returned home from school.
By the way, this is CNN reporting this, if you didn't know.
Another adult living in the home was outside and begged the agents to let him take care of the small child and was refused. Instead, the agent took the child out of the still running car, led him to the door, and directed him to knock on the door, asking to be let in order to see if anyone else was home, essentially using a 5-year-old as bait.
All right, right there. If I heard that, I'm like, wait a second. Why would a federal officer use a 5-year-old as bait? And there's nobody in law enforcement that would do that in the United States. I can't say for other countries. In the United States, there's nobody who will do that. And if you believe otherwise, you're an idiot. I'll say it again. If you believe otherwise, you are an idiot. Let's go on with this.
ICE responded on X, denying that they used the child as bait. He is one of the 4 students from the Columbia Heights Public Schools District detained by ICE in the past 2 weeks. That, according to the district's superintendent.
This family is following U.S. legal parameters and has an active asylum case with no order of deportation. I have viewed the legal paperwork with my own eyes.
Liam and his father presented themselves to border officers in Texas in December 2024 to apply for asylum. They are now being held at an ICE facility for families in Texas, a source told CNN.
Okay, so why are they being held there? That would be my question. Why are they being held there?
Department of Homeland Security told CNN in a statement that the father was the intended target of the operation and, quote, ICE did not target a child. It said an ICE agent stayed with Liam after his father, quote, fled on foot, abandoning his child when the agents approached him. DHS says parents can decide if they want to be removed with their children, or ICE can place children with a safe person the parent designates.
That makes sense, right? Right? Doesn't that make sense? That if the person is being deported, they have the choice of bringing their family along with them, right? That's what they're saying. Okay, so that being said, let's get on to the other side of the story. Again, remember the snow removal story, the snow story. You ever get 2 inches of snow or you get 12 inches of snow? Which one do you believe? All right, so we've heard one of the news stories. Let's hear another news story. Oh, wait a second here. How come this isn't up here? Okay, let me come back on here. Let me make sure I get this right. Okay. All right, now I got to figure this out. What? How come that's not doing anything? Okay. All right, I'll get the other one up here. You think I'd figure this out by now, but nope. Haven't figured it out yet. There we go. Okay, here we go. All right, this is the other side of the news story. All right. Bing.
This week, ICRO conducted targeted enforcement operation to arrest Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, an illegal alien who was released back into the interior of the United States by the previous administration. When officers approached Conejo Arias, he and his child were in a vehicle. Arias fled from law enforcement on foot, abandoning his child in the middle of winter in a vehicle.
Okay, so let's stop it right there. So you have one station that says that the ICE agents were using the child as bait. Now another station is saying the child was abandoned by the father who was fleeing. Okay, so who do you believe?
One of our officers stayed behind with that child while other officers apprehended his father. After conducting the arrest, my officers stayed with the child. They cared for him, took him to get something to eat from a drive-through restaurant, and spent hours ensuring he was taken care of.
Now, think about what you know about law enforcement. Do you know anybody who's in law enforcement? Does that sound like what they would do? To me, yeah. I know all kinds of law enforcement guys, and that's exactly what they would do.
Again, my officers did that, not his father. My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door.
Okay, right there. One station is saying that they're using them as bait to get in the house. The other person refused to open the door. So which one do you believe?
Let me say it again. They saw the young boy and they refused to open the door and take him back. This is the human side of the job that my officers do. They are family men and women. They have children of their own. They sacrifice everything for their families. I know for a fact that they were heartbroken to see the child's own family leave him behind.
Okay. Again, were they using this child as bait, or was the father leaving the child behind? You decide.
Fortunately, Conejo Arias eventually requested that his child stay with him. We do everything in our power not to separate families. So they took him back together to Minneapolis, here to the city, to the ICE facility for processing. And now they are being well cared for at a family residential center, pending their immigration proceedings. This is the real face of ICE, ERO, Border Patrol, and our allied partners.
Well, there you go. So which one are you going to believe? Are you going to believe the one that says there's only going to be 2 inches of snow, or the one that's going to say there's 12 inches of snow, for my analogy? Okay, so now we have 2 different stories, completely different agendas, if you will. One is saying law enforcement bad, bad, bad. The other one's saying law enforcement good, good, good. Which one are you going to believe? I'm going to go back to my snow analogy. The snow analogy. Which one are you going to believe? The 2 inches of snow or the 12 inches of snow? And what it boils down to, you're going to wait until the next day, right? You're going to wait until it's until after it happens. You're going to wait until all the facts come out, so to speak, right? Okay. That being said, let's get to one more here. This is actual Vice President J.D. Vance. Let's see what he has to say here.
A local school district here is alleging ICE agents detaining a 5-year-old after preschool on Tuesday. We've also seen multiple American citizens detained by ICE or harassed by ICE in the last 6 weeks. Are you proud of how your administration is conducting this immigration crackdown here?
Okay, if you didn't hear that, somebody's asking J.D. Vance if he's proud of the way his law enforcement, his ICE agents are handling everything after the guy went through and told one side of the story. One side of the thing is, he says basically, using my analogy, there's only going to be 2 inches of snow, but we see more snow falling. What do you think? So who's right here, Mr. Vance or Vice President Vance?
Well, I'm proud of the fact that we're standing behind law enforcement, and I'm proud of the fact that we're enforcing the country's laws. But, you asked a question about this 5-year-old kid. I actually saw this terrible story while I was coming to Minneapolis. We just left Toledo, Ohio this morning for an economic messaging event. And I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy. And I think to myself, oh my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien.
There you go. See, he's doing more research, right? Okay. Hint.
And then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States of America? If the argument is that you can't arrest people who have violated our laws because they have children, then every single parent is going to be completely given immunity from ever being the subject of law enforcement. That doesn't make any sense. No one thinks that makes any sense. Now, there are so many of these cases like that where if you just understand the context, there have been a number of situations that I've looked into personally where I say, wait a second, we don't want ICE arresting American citizens. They're supposed to be enforcing the immigration laws against illegal aliens. So then I look into it and I find out that the American citizen who was arrested took a swing at an ICE officer. You can't have that happen. And of course they have to defend themselves. And of course they have the right to detain somebody who assaults a law enforcement officer. Now,
period. End of story. That's right. You attack a law enforcement officer, FAFO. Absolutely. Again, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care how you view it or what your politics are. If you attack a law enforcement officer, you're going to get the worst end of it. Simple as that. I don't know why you guys can't understand that. Okay, if you want to protest out in the freezing cold, be my guest, knock your socks off. But when you start abusing law enforcement, that's when the find out part of it comes around. If you're going to FA, they're going to FO. It's just that simple. I mean, I don't want to hound on that, but I will use my snow analogy one more time. One station tells you it's going to snow 2 inches. Another station, let me back up and rephrase that because I might cut this out and use it for a promo. When you're, how would I want to start this? Let's say you have 2 different news stations in your area. One of them is telling you you're going to have 2 inches of snow tomorrow, and the next one is telling you you're going to have 12 inches of snow tomorrow. Who do you believe? Which one do you believe? Now, common sense would say, you know what? Maybe it's somewhere in between, so let's wait until the next day and we measure the snow, then we'll see who was right and who wasn't. Okay, makes sense, right? Why don't you use that same logic when you look at news, different news stories? If one station is telling you X, another station is telling you Y, how come you're right away jumping on one or the other? Why not wait until all the facts come out? Especially with this thing going on in Minneapolis. Wait till the facts come out and then make a determination. Instead of digging in the sand and saying my side is right, why don't we wait until all the facts come out? Just like with the snow, you're going to dig into the snow, so to speak, and say, well, my station said it's only going to be 2 inches, so there'll only be 2 inches. Well, then my station said it's going to be 12 inches, and so we're going to stand here and we're going to pout and stomp our feet until we see 12 inches of snow. And if we don't see it, we're going to go up and yell at the weatherman. Well, why don't you just wait until the next day and then measure how much snow is on the ground? Again, that's my analogy with the any news story. And if your station has a track record of not telling you the truth, maybe, just maybe, you might want to listen to another station. I'm just telling you, think about that. And instead of following them blindly, why don't you figure out what the facts are first? I mean, if it's too far one way, too far left, too far right, whatever, maybe there's a hint of untruthfulness going on in there. Just think about that for a little bit. Okay. So I tell you what, that's what I was wanting to talk to you about tonight. That was the main thing of getting the all my analogies going for you tonight. So, you know what? At this point, I'm probably going to stop it. But I appreciate you all being here. Again, my name is Andrew. I am the face who runs the place. This is Popcorn and Whiskey. This has been in my studio, which is not insulated, by the way. That's why I'm wearing the jacket. It's a little bit on the chilly side. Right now, I do believe outside. Let me see. According to my trusty phone, hold on a second here. Whoop. Weather forecast right now. It's frozen too. Weather forecast right now, it says it's 3 degrees above zero Fahrenheit. 3 above zero Fahrenheit right now. That's what it says. Well, now I just changed to 1. Okay. All I know is I don't plan on going outside. Yeah. Okay. I don't plan on going outside right at the moment. So, okay. I will stop it here. My name's Andrew, Popcorn and Whiskey. I am the face who runs the place. If you didn't see this before, go back and watch it. I did some great analogies. Yes, I am patting myself on the back. This was a great analogy for tonight. So we'll stop it here. So until next time, this is me. Ciao.